take seats. I'm going to ask you to take seats, please. Friends, if we can ask you to register and take seats, please. We are getting ready to begin services.
No, better your place.
Well, if we could ask you to register and take seats, please. We are getting ready to begin. Folks, if you'll take seats, please. We'll ask you to take seats. We could ask the friends to take seats, please. Folks, we are getting ready to begin. Can we ask you to take seats? Hang on 1 second. Folks, please take seats so that we can begin. Mr. Burke.
Once you register, you can have a seat. You're ready to start.
Folks, please take seats.
Take seats right here, please.
In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for laughing and a time for weeping, a time for giving birth and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Irene Gribov's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people, Israel, and the eternity of God. Shir HaMahalot Esavein El Kakarim Mehayin Yavo Ezri Ezri Mehim Adonai Ose Shamayim Vaharetz Al Yiten Lamot Raglecha Al Yanom Shomrecha Hinei Lo Yanom Velo Yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai Shomerecha Adonai Etzilcha Aleyhat Yeminecha Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yakeka Veyareach Balayla Adonai Shmorcha Mikol Ra Yishmor et Nafshecha Adonai Yishmor Tzedka Uvahecha Meyata Ve'ada Olam. 121st Psalm. I will lift my eyes to the mountain. Where is the source of my help? The source of my help is the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. He will not let you falter. Your guardian does not slumber. Surely the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. He is at your right hand to protect you. The Lord, your keeper, gives shelter. The sun will not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all the harm. The Lord will preserve your soul. God will guard your going and coming from this time forth and forever. מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לו אחסר, בנודה שירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינחלני, נפשי ישבב ינחני, ומעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי בגיא צל מוות לא ירא, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צוררי, דשנת ושמן ראשי כוסי רוויה, אך טוב וחסד תרדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on path of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You set a table inside of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Dear Michael, Maya, Jan, Julia, Boris, dear Sasha, Carly, Basia, dear relatives and friends, we gathered here today to pay our last respect to the memory of Irene Gribov. She leaves us earlier than we would like her to leave us, unexpectedly and tragically. Irene was born in 1957 in Ukraine, in city of Dnipropetrovsk. Her father, Alexander Gluzman, was a talented surgeon. And Basia, you were an English teacher. Sister Maya was 6 years older. Maya, you grew up together. You had a happy childhood and you were very close. And as you said, you became especially very close after you reunited here in the United States. Irene was very smart. She was an excellent student, and she graduated high school with the gold medal that, as you all know, was the highest honor in the former Soviet Union. She was very social, very friendly, and she had many loyal friends. She wanted to become a doctor like her father, but in anti-Semitic Ukraine, it was an impossible dream. So she went to the Metallurgical Institute in Dnipropetrovsk, where she studied and applied mathematics and computer science. And after graduation, Irene worked as a computer programmer. Irene came to Leningrad to visit her girlfriend. Michael, you lived in Leningrad. So her friend introduced two of you. And in those few days that she was in Leningrad, you had a couple of dates, but that was enough time for both of you to realize that you were destined to be together. And after she left Leningrad, you continued to communicate by writing letters to each other. And on September 12, 1986, you got married. Michael, as you said, she was different. Irene was beautiful, smart, and very intelligent. She was well-read. She was an extrovert, and you, Michael, are an introvert. But somehow, two of you beautifully and magically complemented each other. You had similar life values and similar moral principles. Together you built a wonderful family, raised your son. You and Irene were not only husband and wife, you were best friends and best partners in life. Irene always worked very hard, and especially after arrival to the United States in 1992. Irene tried everything to succeed here in America. She studied English at Tri-C. She took every job that she could find here to support her family. Irene was an amazing mother to you, Sasha. You were her only child. You were her treasure. She loved you infinitely and unconditionally. She cared for you, and she was involved in every aspect of your upbringing and your education. Irene was a proud Jew, and she cared a lot about her Jewish identity and Israel. So Irene insisted that you get a Jewish education. So you, Sasha, attended elementary school at Agnon Jewish Day School. Irene was energetic and active her entire life. She loved to travel, especially to Europe. She loved to see places and to learn different cultures and customs. She loved art, museums, music, and culture in general. Irene was an amazing cook. She especially loved to cook for you, Michael and Sasha. You told me that she would travel to Chicago to see you, Sasha, and to make your favorite Russian recipes. She was an amazing grandmother, and she loved dearly her grandchildren, Asher, Noah, and Sammy, and she was a loving grand-aunt to Ellie and Jamie. Irene was a very giving person, and she loved to spoil her family with gifts. She loved holidays. She loved all her family being together. Irene was a loving daughter and sister. She loved her parents. Irene helped to take care of her sick father, Alexander, before his death. And Irene and you, Maya, took turns to take care of your mother now, before her untimely death. Unfortunately, this past August, Irene was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. She didn't give up, and she continued to fight for her life. She was very brave these last few months. She knew that the Thanksgiving holiday would be her last. And Irene wanted to be with her beloved family. She wanted to see everybody and to say goodbye to everybody. Irene Gribov lived with the good life, and she lived with the good name, and she died with the good name. Irene Gribov lives behind her beautiful legacy and memory. Tehi nishmata tzarora b'tzrora chaim. May her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. I know that some family members would like to share their memories. Please come forward. I don't know in what order you will be speaking.
Thank you, Cantor. I'm Julia. I'm Irene's, Ira's niece. Ira was like my second mom. She was only 20 years older than me. And when I was a kid, I'd spend summers together with her and my grandparents. She was beautiful, full of life, energy, loved her family and friends. When Sasha was a baby, we would take him for walks in the park, get ice cream, and sit on the bench and talk about life. She was a great friend. She was warm, kind, and extremely generous. When my girls were little, they would say they'd want to grow up and be an aunt, like Ira, because she always would give them presents. She treated my girls like her own grandchildren. My husband called Ira an angel, as she was there when both of our girls were born, and took time off work to travel to Chicago and stay up late taking care of them so we could get some sleep at night. She was extremely brave and fought this terrible disease so hard. I can't imagine our lives without her. And her spirit and all the beautiful memories will always stay with us.
Thank you.
I will say a few words. I lost not just a sister, but my only great friend. And I want just to say how she fought that stupid, terrible disease with such dignity, with all her might, and with every strength that her body had for a long time for her because it was very difficult until the very last day. And I wanted to say thank you very much for coming. It would mean a lot to her.
You all know Ira, but I just would like to refresh your memory and say just a few details about her. Past September, we celebrated our 36 years anniversary. It's more years than I lived before marriage. So she knew me no less than I knew myself. She just looked at me and knew immediately if I'm happy, if I like something. If when I was looking for something, she could always tell me where I could put it, and you could be certain it was there. I was lucky to have her as my wife. She was loving, caring. She was very smart, and sometimes critical. Every time she reminded me when I need to go for a doctor checkup, and when I went, she always asked me how did it went, and if there were any issues, and if there were, she would make sure that I follow up on these issues. She was a great, great mother. She raised our son Sasha in a way that made us proud of him. She always was involved in his life. She wanted to know what's going on there. She tried to protect and prevent from any troubles. Sometimes he tried to evade it, but she would make sure that nothing bad went. She developed in him love for books, value of knowledge, good education. She always made sure that he had good friends, and she supported and encouraged him to have friends. She always invited friends over and fed them, and they were lucky to be. They loved to come to our house. Maybe it's the reason why he has so many friends now. When we were blessed to have a grandchildren, she loves them dearly. And our daughter-in-law, Carly, trusted her, leaving kids under her supervision, and for a couple of days just to get some break. And the kids love to come to Baba and me house, how they called our house. She was in charge of our house. All remodeling projects, she initiated them, she followed through, she started from design, picking products, meeting with contractors. So she was a boss in the house. One of the biggest hobbies of her was travel. She likes to travel everywhere, and she likes us to go there to see places, go to theaters, museums, try different foods. She liked to make pictures. She had an eye for things. She was a very good photographer. Sometimes I try to do the same thing, but when I compare two pictures, you can see right away that mine was off completely, and she just couldn't get the right thing and emphasize everything. She made a lot of photo albums for us, for Sasha, and for grandkids. And grandkids just love to watch these photo albums. She liked to cook, and she had a special sense of taste. Sometimes I went to the kitchen just to watch her craft and tried to do the same thing, but it was never the same. It's impossible. Couple other hobbies that she had was flowers. She liked to plant them in our house, in Sasha's house. She liked these bright blooming flowers, and she planted a lot of them, so at least some of them were blooming all the time. I forgot to mention one thing about grandkids. In her last weeks, there was a birthday of her oldest grandson, Asher, and she was very worried that we didn't buy a present for him and his sisters. One more hobby of her was shopping. She liked to go shopping and later just shopping online for us, for Sasha, especially for grandkids lately. She picked she had this amazing feel of what's going to look good. Ira, I miss you. You're always a part of me, and I'm just lost something very important and critical for me. Thank you for everything.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. It would have meant the world to my mom to see all of you and everybody who traveled from far away, everyone who came from close by. She would have absolutely loved it. I got a lot to say, but I'll go my fastest. My mom was the best. She was just the best. She had this zest for life. She loved living. She loved experiencing. She loved loving. She loved caring. She loved feeding. She loved hugging. She loved laughing. She loved feeding some more. At the end, all she wanted to do was to tell me that she was sorry because she thought that it was somehow her letting me down by going so soon. And to make sure that Asher, Noah, and Sammy knew that their Baba loved them with all their heart. And to be certain that I had Hanukkah presents teed up for them, good ones, lots of them. A few days ago when she had almost nothing left, I told her that I was getting Hanukkah presents for the kids from her and from Papa. And she shot her eyes open. It was really hard for her to do that. And she gave me this look like, yeah, and they better be awesome. And she also wanted me to promise that we'd take care of my dad, which we will. And she kept making sure that I was fed. She'd be in bed and couldn't eat a morsel for days, and she was kicking me out of the room to go eat a 3-course lunch from the fridge. That's just who she was. But I don't want to talk about the end. I want to talk about her life and her legacy and what she meant and who she was. She loved so many things and people and places. She loved the beach and beach vacations and swimming and the smell of the ocean and the waves, as long as they weren't quite too big, and half the time they were too big. She loved traveling. She loved big, beautiful European cities, especially Paris, and she loved architecture and museums and paintings. Every year growing up, we'd take 2 vacations, one to a beach and one to some city, either in the U.S. or in Europe, and explore. And she wasn't an art connoisseur, but she loved going to museums and seeing classical paintings, or Impressionists were her favorite. And she'd tell a story whenever she knew one about the artist, especially if the artist was a Jew or an anti-Semite. Those were the best stories. She loved cooking and feeding and nourishing every way possible. You couldn't come to her house and not eat a massive meal. Appetizers and salads and soups and meat and 4 different chocolate cakes and torts for dessert. And any friend who was coming over, if they were just driving through or on a road trip or sleeping over, they got the whole menu. It wasn't, do you want something or what do you want? It was just on the table and, eat something. And I think it's because she, A, wanted to make sure no one went hungry, and B, make sure that everybody felt welcome and felt like her home was their home. Everybody mentioned that she loved presents, but there's a whole closet of gifts in our basement that haven't been given yet, and she hasn't even bought stuff for months. It's just there. She loved keeping things because I think there were memories of people and of places. I think the tights that I came to America in are still somewhere in the basement in my childhood potty. So I inherited that trait. And sorry, Carly, but we've got a big attic. She loved people. She loved people who were genuine and did what they said. She loved people who were kind. She loved people who loved. She loved people who were good friends. She cared about friendship so much. I think it was partly because she had this really close group of friends growing up, and then they moved cities, and she went to a different high school and didn't have that close group of friends. And so she knew how important friendship was because she also had the experience of losing it for some time, and she always instilled that in me. My first week of kindergarten, every day I'd come home and she'd ask me, "Did you make a friend? Did you make a friend? Did you make a friend?" I think I was so scared that one day I just walked up to Isaac Hagerling and said, "Do you want to be my friend?" And he was my best friend for 5 years in elementary school. When we moved houses, she kicked me out of the house to go meet the kids who were playing basketball across the street, even though I was scared shitless of it. Even now, anytime I talk to her, she'd say, "Hey, did you talk to the dogs? Did you call Josh?" She was just hounding me to make sure that I did that, and I kept that up. She knew that the world was tough and you needed to fend for yourself and your family. One of my favorite stories is sometime in middle school, I think there was a boy who was being mean to her. Maybe he tattletaled on her, and she met him outside afterwards and punched him and knocked out his tooth. I think my grandma, who was the English teacher, got called in for that. But she was proud of the fact that she stood up for something that was important, and she always taught me that you got to fight for what you believe in, and more important than defending yourself is defending others who can't defend themselves, and not letting people bully. She loved flowers and plants and bright colors and big, beautiful houses. She always wanted a bigger house. And gardening and planting berry bushes. Her garden's unbelievable, just like flowers everywhere. And she didn't love sour stuff these past few years, but she'd plant all these berry bushes after berry bushes, gooseberries and blackberries and red currant and raspberries and some strawberries that never grew, just because she knew that I loved them, and she spent hours picking them into these vacuum-sealed containers and bringing them to Chicago for us. And one year, all the birds and squirrels ate the berry bushes, so she had my dad erect this, Israeli Iron Dome type defense system. After that, no squirrel got in. It was a fence all the way around. She loved holidays. She had Thanksgiving decorations and Halloween decorations and evergreen bushes for New Year's, not for Christmas. And we'd invite friends from the neighborhood to decorate the sukkah and make fruits and corn stalks. Hanukkah was the most special. She'd put out 3 or 4 different menorahs, sometimes 5, light them all up. She'd make sure that we had enough candles. I found 8 extra spare candles stored away in different places around our house that she'd gotten us in different years. We're going to light a lot of menorahs this year for her, and if you guys have an extra one, light one at your house too. She'd love it. She loved being Jewish. She was really proud of it, not necessarily the religious part, but she just felt in her bones, and she wanted me to grow up being Jewish, and she wanted my kids to grow up being Jewish. She loved her family. She loved her mom, her dad, her sister, her niece. Family was absolutely everything to her. It was non-negotiable. She had this story of one of their cousins being really sick, and Dedushka Sasha, her dad, somehow finding a car in the 60s USSR and driving it overnight across the country to get some kind of rare medicine and probably saving this cousin's life. And she always told it because A, she was so proud of her dad, but B, just this thought that you do anything for your family, always, no question, and she always did. She loved her grandkids. Julia's daughters were first, Allie and Jamie, who brought so much joy and love into her life, and who she got to see to grow up to be these beautiful young women. And I think they're watching right now remotely, and she loved you guys so much. Allie, I remember this year for Thanksgiving when she was super, super sick. We were arguing about something, and that my mom needed to eat more, and you just kind of stood up for her and told everyone to leave her alone. And I saw her smile. It was hard for her to smile, and she felt like you just had her back. And Jamie, I know she was so proud of how kind and smart and thoughtful and caring you've grown up to be, and she just had a really special bond with both you guys. And she loved our kids, Asher and Noah and Sammy. They were her world. She'd feed them and hold them and play with them when they were old enough to play, and chase them around, and she'd even scold them if they were mean to their siblings. There's nothing that she would rather do than spend time with them. It was her dream to get them for a week all by herself, and we never quite got to that, but we got close with herself and with my dad. But Asher and Noah got to know her and loved her and knew that every minute they spent with her, they were the most important people in her world. They were her world. And Sammy only got to know her briefly, but it was the other way around. Sammy got to be the bright spark in her world at the end of her life, and she'd brighten the worst of days, and she'd get this real smile from my mom, even amongst pain and fear, whatever she was feeling. She'd see Sammy, and she'd smile, and then Sammy would coo at her like Sammy's doing right now in the side room. And Sammy would smile back and laugh. And she loved my dad. He was her everything. They were, and still are, Ira and Misha. They're different in so many ways. He's quiet. She's got a lot to say. He's an introvert. She's an extrovert. He watched the checking account. She'd find a deal at TJ Maxx or Marshall's. But they were the same in every way that mattered. Love and caring and family, all the non-negotiables were and are always the same. They'd finish each other's sentences by looking at each other. They'd both usually be late places. My dad would get in trouble for trying to shovel the driveway when he was supposed to be up getting dressed. They built this big, beautiful life together. They were and are each other's everything. And my dad was this Superman taking care of my mom over the past few months. He did things that nobody, I think, could do, that are absolutely impossible, but he knew that she needed it, and it would make her comfortable if he was there 24/7, and he was, and he did absolutely everything. And in the best days of her life, they were together in a team, and in the worst days of her life, he was there, and he was her rock, and she trusted him to take care of her and hold her and love her. My mom was the best. I miss you today, I miss you tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after. But everything that you were and you cared about and you did doesn't go away, and we've got 3 little munchkins to pass it on to.
Thank you very much for your beautiful, beautiful memories, beautiful words. Please rise for the memorial prayer. Eile malei rachamim, shochayne bamramim, hametzemeno hanechono, tachat kanefei vashchina, b'mahalot kedoshim adgorim, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת עיר בת שמואל ברוך ובסה שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. אנא בעל הרחמים אז תראה בסתר כנפך לעולמים, ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני ונחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Irene Gribov, who has gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we ask you, please remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is her portion now. May she rest in peace, and we all say, Amen. Please be seated. Please remain in your seats until the casket will be taken out of the chapel. Pallbearers, please come forward.
Ask the pallbearers to step forward at this time. think we're going to be good. We're good. Pallbearers, I'm going to ask you to step up the aisle with Mr. Miller, please. Pallbearers, will you step up the aisle, please, with Mr. Miller? We can ask everyone to rise and remain in place, please.
אדוני מי יגור בך, לך מי ישכון בך על קודשך, הולך תמי מופעל צדק ודבר אמת בלבבות. לא רגל לשנה, לא עשה לו ראייה גורעה וגרפה לנשא על קרבות. נמצא בעיניו נפעס
Friends, this will conclude services here at the chapel. We ask that if you're driving to the cemetery, please start your car and put your headlights on and your flashers. Exit towards the rear of the chapel.